Welcome back to American Arms Channel, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are here at the reloading bench throwing together a really simple double-aught buck load for the 12 bore. I get a lot of questions from time to time about 12 gauge loads since I do a lot with the 10. And yes, I do load for the 12 gauge on occasion, sometimes for fun, sometimes because I want to accomplish something specific, but there is a lot of 12 gauge load data out there, and there are a lot of really good or just very economical 12 gauge loadings out there. But I still get questions nonetheless, and one of the things I like to play with in 12 gauge is different buckshot loadings. It's fun, it's simple, and let's face it, sending buckshot downrange is just really entertaining, if nothing else, when you're going to the range and you want a lot of boom, but not a lot of expense. So one of the things that I've had a lot of recently is the Winchester Super-X 9 pellet loads, and this has a dry lock hull, so they seal the top of the hull. And they've been doing that for a very long time, for decades now, and it's a good load. A lot of these double-aught buck loads, though, are not manufactured in the US anymore. In fact, this super cheap $2.99, $3.25 a box of 5 buckshot loads that I bought a case of, they're from France. Not that that's a big deal, but it does change the hull a little bit. So I've been using this Super-X hull from France, which I believe is a Cheddite product, although it does have a little bit heavier wad wall. And I've been using it for some buckshot and field loads, just to play with it. And it's been an excellent hull, just like the original American-made Super-X hulls are, much like what you'll find with the paper-based wad versions of the past, as well as some of the versions that you'll have with the Winchester Super-X slug loadings that are made in the US. Irregardless, what are we doing to make this a simple, effective, and high-velocity buckshot load? Well, we're going to do two things. We're going to use a standard wad and cast or swaged buckshot, and we're going to, instead of running 9 pellets, we're going to run 8 pellets, which is going to put us just a touch under 1 ounce in payload weight. So we're going to use that hull. We're going to use any standard 209 primer. I have a brick of Rios here that I'm working through. And the special sauce, the spicy space dust, is Hodgdon Longshot. Super versatile powder. If you're loading shotgun shells, regardless of gauge, you probably should have a pound or more of this in your cabinet, because this just is really versatile and you can get a lot done with it. You can get moderate velocity loads all the way up to super barn burners. So next up, we're going to need a wad. So what are we going to use? Well, we're going to use the Claybuster WAA12, if I can speak and think at the same time, the WAA12 replacement wad. It's a Winchester WAA12 wad clone. Works perfect in Winchester hulls, among many other. If you're wanting to go to a higher payload inside of any hull, but stay with the Winchester pattern wadding, go to a WAA12R, which is going to shorten the piston section, but also keep the same size wad cup. So you're not going to gather further shot protection from the bore, but it is going to give you a little bit more space inside of that hull so that you can accommodate for a higher payload. I think that this is just about perfect, especially for containing 8 pellets of double-aught buck. So WAA12 or the Claybuster clone. Next up, we need shot. As I noted, double-aught buck loading, just a touch under 1 ounce. If you want to buffer it, you can. We're not going to do that with this load, but I'm using Hornady swaged buckshot. You can cast your own, you can buy others, you can buy nickel-plated if you want. This is what I have on hand. Looks like I'm going to have to resupply in short order, but this stuff works pretty dang well and is pretty dang effective on target. So pick your poison when it comes to what pellet you want specifically, but double-aught buck size is going to be what you need. And last component here to seal off the hull and give it some weatherproofing if we're going to use it out in the rain and gales. We're going to have some clear gel or shellac or shine, or you can use liquid silicone, some form of thin sealant Pick it up at the dollar store, pick it up at your local Wally World, big box store, etc. You just need a dab of it to spread around the crimp. It leaves minimal to no residue inside of the chamber, and I like to seal all of my hunting and special purpose loads with something like this. Nice and simple. Buy a couple of them, keep them at the bench, and they'll serve you just fine. So with that said, let's get on to it here. We're gonna grab a couple of these hulls, this one in particular. Now, these ones have already been processed and primed and are ready for charging. And you can see I've got a pile of these loaded hulls off over here. But one thing I have noticed in playing with these dry lock hulls is it's not as hard to get a decent crimp on them as you expect, especially when you're using something simple and cost-effective like the Load All kit. But they don't really open up that great. And so you might want to skiv or condition the hull. I'm going to take this over to the drill press real quick. I've already got the hull skiver in it. I'm not even going to press it down. I'm just going to run it up a couple times and move it so that we get a nice straight wall and kind of take some of that crimp memory out so that we get a better crimp on the machine. And I like to do that before we start processing and resizing the hull. That way it just keeps the mess from getting spread around and causing problems with your load process. So let's head over to take care of that really quick in less than 30 seconds and get back to the Lee Load All here and process this into another loaded cartridge. Pardon the mess, the bench is as always messy, but we're just gonna take our Harbor Freight quality drill press here, which has many uses. We've got our Ballistic Products hull skiver here. And just a quick touch. Blow it out, make sure there's no residual residue, and we can see that kind of open that up, hit that crimp a little bit, and will give us a little bit better chance at a better fold crimp. We're sealing it anyways, and if you're really worried about it and you need to put buffer in your load, you can always put a thin Tyvek or cardboard overshot card or paper overshot card to get that crimp sealed up nicely and give something for that shellac, gel, or liquid silicone to sit on and harden with to prevent both buffer leak as well as moisture intrusion. So that's always an option with shells, and you don't have to worry about it really impacting the pressure of the hull. It's so minimal that it won't matter, but this is going to give us a much better and much easier time getting a quality crimp out of what is a pretty ragged front side of this hull. So I know I talk about a lot of Hornady products. I live in central Nebraska. Hornady's based out of Grand Island. There's a lot of it around. One-Shot is actually a pretty decent product, and I like using it because it's convenient. So even on shot shell hulls, I give them a little squirt, and it usually one little squirt or two little squirts per 3 or 4 hulls on your resizer, whether you're using a press or just a ring style like this Lee Load All 2 has, usually works out pretty good. So we'll just slip that guy in there. When you skiv that hull, it's going to make it a little bit harder, so you're going to have to wiggle her around to get that resizing ring. And of course, this is nothing new under the sun. Gets a little stuck there. We got a nice flush hit. So now we are going to grab our primer, toss that guy in, and we are going to remove the sizing ring and prime at the same time. There we go. We have a resized and primed hull ready for powder and wad. Now I am throwing 37.5 grains approximately of Longshot here. If you have a Lee dipper, this 190 will work pretty much to hit that dead on the nose, and I've not seen enough of a variance to cause a problem. So when you're just loading stuff quick and you don't want to set up your Load All 2 or whatever it may be with different shot sizes, this 190 lead charger is going to work just fine. So we'll throw her on in there, and there we go. We are charged up. And that powder charge is going to give us right around the 1600 foot per second mark. I'm not a speed demon when it comes to shot shell loads. The ballistics of the sphere dictate that you're really not going to get anything more out of it until you cross over the 1800, 1900 foot per second barrier. So whether that's you want to consider ballistic efficiency down range whether that's you want to consider lead required on moving targets, so on and so forth. You're going to lose all of that between 1400 and 1700, 1800 feet per second. All of that velocity advantage is pretty much gone by 35 yards, if not sooner. But with a buckshot load, especially for defense, sometimes you could argue that 1600 feet per second makes more sense if you're going to be using it between 5 and 25 yards. You will see some ballistic advantage to it. The 8 pellets gives you the same or similar recoil impulse to a 1300 some odd foot per second 9 pellet, but you're getting a lot faster because you're just a touch under an ounce. Half dozen of one, 6 of the other. Whatever your personal preference is, I just think that this load is fun. So let's stop gabbing and set our wad into position. We have a good seal and we're ready to drop our 8 pellets of double-aught. 8 pellets of double-aught going in. It's going to stack by 2s in this wad. There's plenty of space for buffer if you want to put it in. I don't really see it being incredibly necessary on this one if you're just throwing together a simple buckshot load for fun, hunting, and probably defense. If you're trying to control the pattern as best as possible with this WAA12 pattern wad, you're going to want to put a short mylar wrap, and you're going to want to buffer it and put a cap on it, and you can either roll crimp it or you can fold crimp it, whatever you prefer, whatever you have tools for. But that's really if you think you need to increase your pattern capability or not. So we're going to send it down and get a pre-crimp. That doesn't look really pretty because, again, it is a dry lock hull. But when we put it into the final crimp station and we send her home, most of the time, it looks halfway decent. It's decent there. It is not the best I've made. Here's one of the better ones. But I can tell you right now, when you don't skiv it or you don't open that up a little bit, you start to get these, which are a little bit of a crush. But most of them are going to come out looking like one of these 4. This is the one we just did. These 3, you're either going to have a bit of a gap or it's going to look nice and even, but you have that hole there. This one's nice because it's sealed up in the center, but again, half dozen of one, 6 of the other. It's just a cheap, easy to make load, guys. So nothing fancy here. It is not the best, but it will work, and it'll work pretty dang well. Well, there we are, guys. All wrapped up with 10 rounds. We're going to take it down to the range and test it on paper, get some velocities, and just show function with a couple of different firearms. I really like this load. It's just fun. It's super easy to throw together. If you need to throw some buckshot together for training or hunting or whatever it may be, and this load does well for you, well, I mean, it doesn't take long to throw them together if you've got them in your pile and the components ready to go. So something simple to put together and a way to reuse these double-aught buck dry lock hulls or other dry lock hulls that you may be purchasing in the Winchester brand. So with that said, let's go shoot them and try them out. I'm going to start with the Super Black Eagle 3. We're going to put 1 round in. I'm going to aim at the top of the target. We're going to try and keep these patterns separate. I will go down range between this round and the next round to mark up the patterns between the different barrels. Again, this is 8 pellets of Hornady Swage double-aught buckshot. Let's take a look. .1484. Now that we've proven that it will operate this action, we're going to put 2 more in. 3 feet from the muzzle, I've got an old silhouette target downrange. Put 1 on him and then 1 on P-Dog Slim. Again, improved modified choke tube. Let's take a look. 1388, and we lost 1 of our shades. 3rd round on P-Dog Slim. 1143, that did not cycle the action. Poor operation there. Let's try 1 more since we've got it. Perhaps it was a bad primer. 1466. All right, if it looks like I'm a little bit closer than I was last time it's because I have a shorter barrel. So 3 feet from the muzzle means I physically have to move closer to the chronograph. All right, so Benelli M1014. Let's take a look, aiming at the center of the target. Pattern was not very good. We only put 3 pellets on target. 1 hit the point of aim, 2 were to the left, and the rest went off the board. So hopefully the 1014 likes this a little bit better, but we'll see. This is mostly just to play with, so not a super serious load. Definitely a way better pattern. I pulled it up and right, so that's all me. 1466. Doesn't look like we lost any velocity out of that round. That one ejected very well. We are going to load 2 more. That was an error. And an error again. I still have more cartridges that I had made, so let's reset the chronograph here and see if we can get some actual numbers. Okay, we are reset. Let's see if we can get a velocity. 271. That is not correct. Let's retry here. I have 2 cartridges left after this. Blooper. Wad went downrange. That's not good. Unburnt powder. 150. That was probably accurate. 1353. Last round. 1341. So, to make a note before we proceed, I have not had these issues before, but I have not velocity tested this round. It's actually a bit slower, even out of the longer barrel, than I anticipated. I noted that it should be close to 1600 feet per second, but that's not what we've seen today. Now, changing the primer could make a difference. The Rio primers do not seem to have the same level of pop or energy that Cheddite, Remington, or CCI primers have had. I may have to drop back and see what the velocities are utilizing a CCI or a Cheddite primer. But seeing that I've recalled having some velocity errors prior with these Rio primers, I think I might stop using them. That blooper was a bit strange, and I've used this exact loading with these hulls before. The only variable has been this new primer. So I'm glad you could see that along with me. Perhaps it's a bad batch of Rios. Maybe you've got experience with Rios producing bloopers. It could also be that we don't quite have the right amount of seal between the hull and the piston of the wad, the gas cup, and that could be causing some powder leak into the power piston area and potentially causing a problem. But I've seen that with factory loads with clear hulls, as well as when dissecting factory loads, and they've been good loads before. So not sure what the true factor is. Perhaps you can chime in the comments. When the load works, it works well, and it's something I'm playing with. I'm not recommending this for serious use, and if you were to take a look at this for hunting or for defensive purposes, I would honestly recommend that you load and thoroughly test 50 to 100 rounds before even considering it. This is mostly just for fun and training and producing content on this channel. So let's go downrange and take a look at the patterns. I'm getting sweatier by the minute, so we're gonna make this as quick as possible. As I noted before, the Super Black Eagle 3 pattern came up here. We've lost sight of it, and I've used all the rounds on trying to get velocities. So by this, I would extrapolate it's probably a 24 to 30 inch pattern size, not really acceptable. at 25 yards. It probably would be useful under that, but I wouldn't count on it. The velocity was good enough. Now, the M1014 actually did really well, and the velocity on that was pretty good. I have not crunched the numbers yet, so I'll annotate them down below right now. Overall, between the two barrels, and excluding the bloopers and the errors, which were not accurate whatsoever, we had one blooper and one low power at 1100 something feet per second. We're sitting right around the 1350 to 1425 foot per second range. So it's more than adequate for use on medium game and for defensive purposes. Again, the reliability of the cartridge is questionable because of several factors that I have yet to identify. I think it's that primer. I have seen much better reliability with this before, but my sample size is not large enough, nor has it been recorded. So just take this as something to play with and maybe a place to start if you want to try and pursue a cheap, cost-effective way to make a 8-pellet buckshot load that sits inside wad cup and has the potential to actually pattern pretty dang well. That up close inside of 25 yards is just going to tighten up, and really that kind of looks like a flight control wad pattern more than just a regular old swaged buckshot pattern. So it might kind of be how to make flight control-ish shot on the cheap. Now I've got some wads here, and they all dropped about 1 yard to 3 yards short of the target. And we can see that there's definitely some push through on those pedals. We've got good gas seal, but it did rip. And there's no reason for that other than it's just thin. These are Claybuster, cheap wads. You can get a better hunting wad, a better wad for this purpose, but if this is what you've got laying around and you're just curious to play with a buckshot load, obviously it's got the potential even out of a modified choke to do pretty well out of the 1014. The improved modified, maybe it's over choking. That particular Benelli, that SBE3, doesn't usually like buckshot loads for whatever reason, but the results are what the results are. This is mostly entertainment, guys. So let's get back to the bench and wrap it up. Well, guys, I certainly hope you enjoyed the video. Again, just a simple load, something fun to throw together, and definitely can be not only cost effective, but ballistically effective. You can change it up to your heart's content regarding dropping the powder to get lower velocities, buffering it, or using a different pellet. You don't have to use the Hornady pellet. You can cast your own, you can do a hard cast, you can do nickel plated. As always, whenever you change something, drop it down, work it back up. This is just what I've worked up and found it to be really effective and enjoyable for me. So there's more coming in the pipeline just like this, mostly focused on 10 gauge loads, as well as your regular or irregular scheduled American Arms content regarding firearms review, ammunition assembly, and load data, as well as others. I'm going to be working towards things like providing pressure data on loads as well in the future. I've got some other things in the pipeline that may not necessarily hit this year, but will be changing how things are done here at American Arms Channel and the things that can be offered to you as a viewer. If you aren't subscribed, please hit that notification bell and that subscribe button to stay up to date on everything we do here. Thanks once again for joining me, guys. As always, God bless, keep your powder dry. I'll see you in the next video.